We are live. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining for the latest episode of the Ecomm Engine. Today, we're going to be talking about scaling with AI intent. And if you haven't heard about the progress in which AI is making, then my question is, where have you been? Now, this morning, I'm delighted to be joined by a very special guest. Niklas, I've known from some time, I believe originally from Rachel Jacobs' community way back
Yes.
when, and then we've got to know each other more and more over the years. So, Niklas, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everyone, for those that perhaps aren't aware of yourself and the crew at Clearer, what you guys do and how you do it, and then we'll dive into today's session.
Yeah, happy to do so. So maybe quickly, I'm Nick. I'm heading up partnerships for EMEA in the UK, and I'm super happy to spend some time with Nathan. I just already said that I'm skipping the Vice Versa breakfast at one of the biggest conferences in Berlin to be here and talk about what Clearer has been up to and what we do with Litical. Nathan, do you want me to already kind of like give a quick summary of what we're up to, or should we
Yeah,
do
what I'd
that?
like to know, I guess, and the reason for doing today, right, is when we were chatting about Litical, I was like, actually,
Mm.
that's really cool, and not a lot of people are going to know about that. And I guess we've prided ourselves as an agency of trying to help amplify the message of new tech coming to market, so our brands and the community are almost the first in the know. But I guess before we do, let's just take a step back because I know that Clearer has a suite of tools, not
Yeah.
just Litical. So let's talk about the other suite of tools in terms of top level, name of it, what it does, etc. And then we'll come on to Litical as the meat of today's session.
Yeah. So basically, like I think a lot of people know us for Boost Commerce, which is a discovery tool, merchandising, search, upsell, cross sell, whatever you name it. Everything like a customer, like if a customer has an intent to find something, we make it easy to find it quicker. Then we have reviews.io, trust, review management system. So helping you to really gain trust when you're in the decision of like buying something. We have a loyalty solution, influence.io, helping you to stay loyal, getting the average order value up, customer lifetime value up. And then we have a couple more. So if a sweepstake app, a address validation tool. But like I would say right now, we're mainly kind of like focusing on the three I just described, which is boost, reviews, and loyalty. And I think it's like quite interesting because we added Litical, which is basically watching the signals across these apps and kind of like looking at your catalog, looking at the behavior, looking at discovery, looking at feedback, and then kind of like explains what it sees in really easy language, gives you recommendations, and then ranks them on like the business impact. So that's kind of like the main idea of kind of like to describe it, right? Because we saw that there's data's really siloed. And then you have a lot of data, you're looking at your dashboards, and it's like, okay, shit, what do I do? But yeah.
So, question for you, and this is fairly pointed. There are quite a few like different tools out there that seem or claim to do similar, right? So, I think what the Shopify ecosystem doesn't need is yet another tool. There's like 12,000 apps in the ecosystem, and it's like, where do people play? And interestingly, you guys are doing well in loyalty, well in reviews, well in search and merch, and now coming across with Litical. My question, I guess, is why and why not partner with like a complementary tool that might be able to do that for you? Why did you decide to build your own?
Because I think like big part is like a lot of these tools are not really built for real retailer interest or like with the knowledge of kind of like being an e-commerce and with like all this experience we have from the different tools. So I think it's also like a trust layer there, right? It's we're coming in, it's especially built for e-commerce, especially for retailers, and we're going from there. Does that answer your question there?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you just like you've seen the market and you've seen the other tools that might claim to do something. Like if you look at the App Store now, most things will be like AI enabled or AI. And I've been lucky to invest in quite a few different brands and solutions. And
Mhm.
everyone, if it doesn't have AI in the deck, you're kind of like, is it even a legit deck, right? Like everyone's just sprinkling things with AI, but it's like, how genuine is it? And I think when people talk about AI, I mean, more so now, are we talking about the likes of Claude, etc., etc. But at one
Mhm.
stage, it's just like, oh yeah, we use ChatGPT, and I'm like, yeah, but there's so much more to it. Like, we're talking about AI to make decisions. And actually, I guess the challenge is there's quite a lot of AI out there that seems to pull the data together, aggregate the data, but then you've still got to go and action it. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. I guess, how would you say that Litical is helping a merchant distinguish between random spikes in kind of data and traffic and fundamental shifts in kind of customer intent? And how do we kind of differentiate the two?
Yeah. Let me, for example, give you an example, right? It's like, let's say, for example, like one of your boots has a return rate of 34%, right? And people continuously kind of like saying, like, you have one dashboard where it says like 34% return rate. And then constantly, like on the other side, you have like reviews coming in kind of saying, hey, this shoe runs way too small, right? It's like two informations you kind of have siloed, right? And then people are kind of like looking for this product. So it also has like a lot of like search clicks, right? Or like a lot of people search for it. So you're sending more and more people in, and then your return rate gets higher and higher. Super disappointing, right? And this is like where analytical, for example, comes in, and it's kind of like helping you to connect these problems, gives you a recommendation, and then categorize it, okay, like prioritize it even for you to kind of like move that forward.
And is Litical more of an internal tool for the merchant, or is it more customer facing for the customer?
No, I'd say it's more for internal teams, right? It is, I would say it's like, there's like, you have like 10 different tools. You need to sign in, you need to kind of like, you have your own dashboard there. And then this is really like where everything comes together. So in the morning you open it as an e-commerce manager, and you can directly get an idea of like, okay, this is what I need to like put in action today. So it's also semi-autonomous. So it kind of like gives you the recommendation, you're the one to act, because we think that's not ready yet. And basically has like different agents there, right? It's like a catalog agent, a segment agent, and with that, it kind of like helps you to get that data together and then gives you the recommendation.
Do you think we'll get to a place where the agents end up doing the resolution as well as finding the issue?
I think we will get there. I think we're not there yet. And I think till then, it's good to kind of like have the power of decision in the hand of humans, right? But I believe like, yeah, like with the speed we're kind of seeing in development there, that at some point it will happen. It's just a question of time, right? Like, what is your opinion there? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, I think
Timeline?
that's got to be the next leap, right? I feel like, yeah, okay, with Litical, there's more and more AI tooling coming out to kind of amplify the problem. And I guess my pushback would be like, we get it. We get we've got a problem, but where are the hours in the day to solve said problem? Or where is the cash available within the cash flow or within the budget to hire an agency or a consultant or a freelance, whatever, to fix it? So I guess that's surely the next iteration is you go, hey, good morning, Nick. I see that last night we had X problem with returns and this has gone over the threshold that we've set. I've created a new FAQ and inserted it in the product page for you, which shows people that when you're buying this size, it comes up a size too big or whatever it may be. And you go, that to me is where it's going. If you get there, then that is unbelievably exciting, but unbelievably terrifying for a business like ours, right? Where you go, okay, that's what we pride ourselves on. So I see actually Litical being quite useful for an agency as well to say, actually, we're going to connect it in. Now, does Litical just talk to your tools or does it talk to other third-party tools as well?
So let me give you an example, right? Like where it, for example, can also help, like especially with third-party tooling, right? It's like your best 150 customers, they buy usually every month, right? And now they've been gone for 2 months. They're still opening emails. That's something we're pulling in from Klaviyo, for example. they're just not clicking, right? So it's not converting from they're looking at, like they're getting something, but like something is off, right? Usually you would say, yeah, it's maybe just the market. But like what Lytical does is like, hey, this group is gone like quiet. And here's what how we can reach out to them and why, or what we could say to kind of like get them back. So I'd already built like kind of like the list of these people, and then you just need to decide, okay, should I send it, or do I have like a different opinion on it, right? So it makes it super easy. It's like, okay, these 150 people, they're not engaging right now. This is the call to action. It's on you to kind of like now do it, right? Especially like for agencies like you, right? It's like then coming in and like kind of seeing like, or seeing in the last 5 years, a lot of things you can just say yes or no, right? It's like maybe you have a different experience. You maybe say no, but it's like at least we give you a call to action, which you can then put in place.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think it's been a really important next step for you guys, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good having all these different apps and tools. And some of the clients we talk to have like 20, 30, 40 apps. You're not even getting the most out of them. You're just very much surface level. So to be able to have a tool like Lytical, how is it going to work in terms of pricing? Is it going to be a standalone solution? Is it like a value add that bolts in alongside the other suite of tools? Is it bundled? Like, how does it work for the merchant? Because I think a lot of merchants will go, actually, this is great because I now can get maybe another 10% from my existing tools, whether it be Boost or Influence, etc. So yeah, how's it going to be priced?
So I think what we see right now a lot in the market is that total cost of ownership is the hot topic, right? It's like, as you said, like they have 20 to 30 apps in there. Like I have a friend who has like 37 apps in there. And I ask him like, how many do you really use, right? And it's like, you have this tool to kind of like just do this part. And I'm like, but that tool can do like 10 more things. And he's like, yeah, but I have this app for that. It's like, dude, do you even understand what you're doing in your shop? And I'm confident that you can cut that, right? And the more the tools then talk to each other, the more irrelevant it gets to kind of like have another for that and that and that. And that's like our mission, right? It's like we want to help to kind of like get to the stack you only need or you really need, and reduce your costs. And then it will be that because you're kind of like in one company, you could definitely getting like some bundling discounts. And then on top, there's Lytical, which is then connecting everything together instead of kind of like going into all these different tools. Also, like we have lots of different tools and you need to click in there right now. With Lytical, you have one layer and from there you get guided.
Yeah, nice. I do like that kind of, actually, we're going to pull all the findings together, and rather than you logging into each of the apps individually, we're just going to have a centralized dash with recommendations that goes, actually, it should surely help you guys' retention as well, right? Because you're proactively trying to tell the merchant. And that's the thing I think I've been most impressed is that proactivity. A lot of tech, a lot of agencies talk proactive, but actually to do it is another thing. So I guess kudos to you guys.
I think it's also for us, right? It's like in the end, we want to have a customer who's using our products to 100%, right? Because we're confident that when they use our product 100%, they're the most happy customers. If someone is coming in and is kind of like just using 10% and expecting kind of like the return on investment, like being 100%, it's tough for us to deliver, right? So especially Lytical will help us so much with that because people will get the idea of like, oh yeah, like I'm just looking at my search, right? Like I'm just kind of like people find their product, but then it comes to they only see out of stock, right? And they're like wondering why isn't it working? Okay, then maybe the recommendation is to kind of work on your merchandising, right? Or on your filtering. And yeah, that's our aim. Or it's like, okay, like why don't people buy when they find all the products? Yeah, because your reviews are off, right? It's like they're not there, they can't find it. Yeah, and that's really, I think, where our tool, but like also AI will help to make it quicker. It's an assistant, right? It's like, I think for us, like our life got so much easier because like I'm probably not the most structured person. But as I said, if I'm like trying to explain, AI will help me to kind of like cut it down and then be a lot more clearer. And that's the same with e-commerce, right? It's so crowded, but now you have someone who's kind of like pointing it down and help you to take action.
Do you think there's a chance that it comes across as almost disingenuous? And so I mean this with all the best will, but let's say like you're in the analytics dashboard or you're in this dashboard, right? And it's saying, oh, I think you need reviews, like, oh, I think you need to improve your reviews, etc. If I was saying that as someone that doesn't have any skin in the game for reviews, I think, yeah, okay, that feels like a legit recommendation versus the reviews platform, the tool that has reviews in its stack saying you need reviews. Does that feel a little bit off? Or do you think actually at the end of the day, proofs in the pudding, it's genuine advice, etc.?
I think it's like, I'm a big fan of reviews. I would always say reviews help.
Yeah.
But like I think like with Lytical, it will be more detailed, right? Like as I said already, it's like, for example, you have a shoe which is like constantly kind of like getting returned, right? And you're pushing everything. And it's super easy to get the people in and buy it, but then you get the return, right? And then it's like, it's not a trust problem you have there, right? But it's an understanding of like why people return it. And that's, for example, where reviews come in. And it's like, if you then, for example, work with additional questions of asking like, hey, does it usually kind of come in small or big, right? When you answer that on the PDP already, or you answer that when people kind of searching, you guided that and you kind of like flag it, like people would kind of like see it and say, okay, other people say it's usually really small shoe, then maybe this time I ordered like a size bigger, right? And when that's hidden in the marketing text, like I won't find it, right? But like if it's in the reviews and it kind of like jumps in my face, like I will probably take that action or like kind of like take that advice from other people. And that's where we kind of like want to guide, right? It's like we're connecting, for example, the returns there, we're connecting the reviews, and with that we give you action to kind of like improve.
And is there a hierarchy or a prioritization? Like, how does it know what's the most important? And I believe it's like a daily thing. So I guess you could almost gamify it, right? To say, okay, today I've got 5 recommendations and I'm going to go and do those recommendations or approve those recommendations, etc. Come back in tomorrow. Do I expect to see 5 more? Is it constantly learning and constantly feeding, or is it like a weekly thing? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's constantly observing, right? It's like your e-commerce advisor constantly observing what's happening, right? As I said, in like across the catalog, across the behavior, across the discovery and the feedback. And then, as I said, it's like it gives you recommendations, and then it's ranked by the business impact, right? So something which is like, let's say it's like just for a smaller group of like 150 people, probably like a little bit lower. If it is kind of like affecting everyone who's coming in your store and searching, it's probably something which is ranked higher. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And I guess for yourself, when is the feature? So is it officially live now and operational? Is it coming? If people are listening today and would like to get access to the tool, how do
Yeah.
they go about that part?
So we're currently in beta. So basically, like you, for example, you get a test account. But like if clients want to test it, if they're already clients with us, it makes sense to kind of like be a client with us with like 2 products of ours so that we can give proper recommendations, see the beauty of Lytical. Happy, reach out to me. I'm happy to give you or get you access. And then we will roll it out soon so that everyone can benefit from it. Yeah.
And I guess the question, I see quite a lot of brands and ecom managers, ecom directors taking the data from Shopify, perhaps using Shopify Sidekick, or even taking it out and putting it into a Claude or something similar to ask it questions. How does this tool vary from that? Why do it this way and not the other way?
Yeah. We had yesterday an interesting discussion, right? Like, and that's maybe a question also back to you, and then I can answer it. But it's like, where do you see right now, like the better results, like in Sidekick or like in Claude? Like Nathan, like from your perspective.
Yeah, interesting actually. I would say I've tried Sidekick a couple of times, and once I was, and this is particularly for Nikki's store, and once I was unbelievably impressed with how it just found it. But I would say it was a fairly simple query. I was with another clothing brand down in London, and we were trying to produce a query and like segment data, etc. And I wouldn't say it was amazing at that. It basically would do something, but I was like, no, that, but like this, and then it would do it this, but not that. And I was like, no, that, and that, but not this. And then it was just like it seemed to take part of the challenge, but not all of it. So I certainly wouldn't stand behind it as a solution. So I would lean more towards Claude or something similar to really rip it up. I guess the challenge then is around who else is getting access to that data. Are we making sure we've disabled any sharing of that data, etc.? So yeah, that's my stance on it. Is I would probably lean towards Claude, although Sidekick does seem to be getting better and better.
Yeah, and like I think that's also where we come in, right? It's like you will have the choice, and like as you already said, it's like what we want to have is like our existing customers to open that up and connect the dots better. That's the first thing to kind of come in and kind of like have this coming from 4 different entries into 1 entry. I think that's like the main point behind it. When it comes to kind of like pushing that data also into, I don't know, into your CDP, into Sidekick, using it there, or like connecting everything in Claude, like I think it's something we won't stop. And like we also believe that it's best to kind of like test it and see like where you get the results. But we're confident that with our solution, you don't have to do it directly, right? So you can also go into it, you get the recommendation, it's ranked, and then if you want to investigate deeper on it, you can go the next step. But like for the first mission you have, and like for the daily to-dos, it's probably the quickest and best way to do it.
I guess the way I'm seeing it is almost having an ecom exec there all day, every day, keeping an eye on the store, right? And the
Yeah, the
ecom
smart
exec,
observer, right?
yeah, it's like, hey, I've found this, I want to flag this. I'm not necessarily saying you need to jump on it right away. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to change the game and create millions of pounds. It's just saying, heads up, there's an issue that probably needs resolving.
Yeah.
I guess how far will it go in terms of it's going to give suggestions across any tools that you guys are using, right? So correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you're using Reviews.io, if you're using Influence, if you're using Boost, it's going to give you recommendations and improvements around those things to make them better. If you're using Gorgeous as a customer service engine, let's say, or something similar, Klaviyo as an ESP, is it going to talk about those or not?
Yeah, like for example, like I gave you the example of kind of like building a list of 150 people who
Yeah,
are not engaging anymore. That's, for example, a Klaviyo recommendation, right? And like also like because we always say it's like our closest allies are Gorgeous and Klaviyo. I'm
yeah.
confident that we also will push more and more informations from Gorgeous into it, because like the informations they have about customers who are unhappy or super happy is definitely something we want to connect with the reviews. That's something we're currently working on. So fingers crossed that's also coming like in, and we have that data in there too. But like for Klaviyo, you ask it, like that's really something we're pushing on, because we see where people kind of like stop being engaged, or we see where people need a special treatment, or where they need, for example, invite to the loyalty system, or where we see like data from the loyalty system, which is not really matching with the data we kind of like receive from emailing, right? Or from kind of like how they click through the shop. And there's so many like examples of like how people can use it. Like I need to kind of like think about like one thing I can describe really well how it works together. Just give me a sec. But maybe continue with another question.
Yeah,
Just like I had really strong examples before, and like I just need to kind of think about it now.
I guess another question would be like, if I'm coming into this and I've never used Litical before, does it take quite a lot of training, learning to get up to speed and use it? Is it like self-serve? Do you need onboarding? How does that work?
Yeah, and that's like the nice thing, right? It's like I think when you just have a tool, you're coming in and you need to ask the question, right? With Litical, you are there, you will get the recommendation, right? Kind of already observed, you can jump in, you can then continue when you kind of like got a recommendation to also ask questions to better understand it. But it's in really plain language. It's built exactly for e-commerce, so it also speaks the e-commerce language. And it's still you kind of like doing the action. But from what I'm seeing right now, it's really easy to use, connect it, and have fun with it.
will it write for you as well? So let's say it says, I think you need, I don't know, new FAQs, or I think you need to send an email to 150 people. Will it literally write the proposed email it suggests to send?
Yeah, it does that, and then but it then on you, so it wouldn't kind of like directly like put it in place, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
gives you the email recommendation, and
You'll
it gives
just
you
sit
also
there and
the list
say
of
you
people
want
to
to
send.
send it, and then you go,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I like that recommendation, and I like that, or I'm gonna. So you've got a yes option and a no option. Yes says just go
Hmm.
and do it. No says no thanks, that's off brand or whatever, whatever. Is
Yeah.
there a third option which is like edit because I like 95% of what you've said, but it doesn't, it lacks that tone of voice? Because that's what I guess I see on quite a lot of AI tools. I looked at once, well, one for like social posting and stuff like that, and it would write something, and I would go, I would never speak like that. Like that is so alien, and then I think it feels really disingenuous. And what you save in time and efficiency, you lose in like
Yeah.
authenticity. So yeah, is there a third option that says like take it and evolve it?
Yeah, and that's like the good thing, right? It kind of like learns from what you do, right? So it's not only like advising you there, but like it also learns like from how you act. And like I think that's also like where we'll move a lot faster on that. That's at least my hope. I hope the product team kind of sees it same, so that you can even upload kind of like your brand perspective and kind of say like, hey, this is how we want to communicate. This is like how we design it, and this is like how we usually approach, for example, certain problems. And then it takes it and kind of like gives you then something which is completely custom on you. That's not yet there yet, but like that's something, product team, if you're listening, please get that done.
Yeah. Well, also one for the product team. I'm getting really excited about this because I like the idea of, if you see, like, I don't know, there's 1,000 stores using it, and actually there's 1,000 stores with the same problem, there's quite an interesting content piece there to go, did you know 9 in 10 stores really struggle with X?
Yeah.
Or looking at the data, this is a consistent problem across all brands. I guess that's the next evolution of this, right? Which goes, we've now been trading it for 6 months. We've helped X amount of brands save tons of time and in development hours or whatever it's going to be, or at least in e-com strategy and execution. Oh, and by the way, did you know there's this concurrent theme that if you haven't looked at the tool, you probably should, because your store might be having similar issues.
Yeah, I think that's also something super interesting. It's like kind of like coming in and, for example, like giving you benchmarks, right? It's like, hey, like you're below like the average conversion rate of like supplements in this region, right? And then it kind of like helps you also from there. That's also like one of the next steps. Right now, we're just combining like what we have in the data, so like of your shop. But that's definitely like also like something in the future which will be super interesting. And I think that's like, for example, something I saw yesterday in the presentation. Like I love it seeing kind of like stats from shops, and then kind of like seeing, are you like above it or below it? Like next to me was a friend sitting, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm above it, like super proud, right? And then oh shit, my number is really not good there.
Yeah.
I think that's also something for the future which will really help, of kind of like, because like sometimes you're sitting there as a merchant and you're like, oh, like what am I doing here? Right? And
Yeah.
like I think that's for why we have Lytical, like to have a friend on your side, an advisor who can help. And then next thing is to kind of like have someone who's like also like seeing market trends.
I really love the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, this ecom ally or person in your corner that goes, actually, don't worry, I've got your back. I
Yeah.
guess a bit of a bigger question for you outside of just political, but is society ready to trust the solution? Right? Because it's all well and good having a buddy there to give me recommendations, but I don't know. Am I, in my heart of hearts, am I ready to press yes rather than no? And I don't know. Like, I love the thought of the tool telling me my problem, and I love the thought of the tool helping me solve my problem. But I feel like I've got this block where I go, thanks for telling me, but I just can't trust you to hit
Hmm.
yes because I'm
Hmm.
worried about what happens. Do you think
Hmm.
we're ready?
I think I think that's what we kind of say, like we want to have a semi-autonomous solution, right? So for the moment, the human is the person who's kind of like taking the action. But like I said it earlier, I think there will be a point where it's like where it understands you and like how you think and how you would react, really like do the actions you want to do. Um, I don't know, like that's also a question back, right? It's like, what do you think is the timeline of kind of like us really putting everything in place there, or kind of like at least saying like, okay, like 70% of like these decisions should always just be done, right? Because like I see it also with myself, right? It's like as soon as you have someone you're working with and like that person is understanding what you want to do, like at some point I'm just like saying like, hey, can we do this? And the person will do it, right? And then maybe you kind of have a feedback check at some point, but with certain topics it's like, yeah, I trust you 100%, you will do it. And I think it's similar with AI, right? The better it understands you, the like I think if you have like 10 times and like 7 times it's correct and you just need to prove yes, I think you're also getting more confident in saying yes.
I think so. I think it's going to be different for different people, and you're going to press yes that one time, and it's going to do it, and you're going to go, holy shit, this is so powerful. You're then going to be more inclined to go yes. And I actually feel like this might be an opportunity for the smaller, more agile brand, where actually they've got maybe less to lose, and they go, yeah, why not? Yes, amazing. Yes, again, like amazing. And they maybe chuck themselves at it because they think, well, there's less on the line. Whereas big multi-million pound retailer goes, Jesus, if I press yes and it does something wrong, I'm losing. Because that's the thing with this kind of, we see this like when you're split testing and things like that, right? Like it's all well and good going down that road, but if that road isn't right, like you're in that, you could be going worse, not better. So I guess that's the thing. It will take time, and we'll see over the coming months. What I'd love to do, if it's okay with you, is perhaps have another session in maybe 3 or 6 months' time where we can start to see some of the findings of Litical and say, obviously, we spoke back in June. This is very early stages. We're now at Christmas. What are we seeing, etc.? So I'll ask Caitlin and Joe to book that in. Now,
I would love to also kind of like maybe even like a little bit further and kind of like having a client here, right? And kind of like seeing how that person is using that in a daily action, right? Because like I think one point I really wanted to add is that you have so many things to do, right? And you have your top 3 priorities you're constantly working on. But there's like 7 things which are probably falling off the table, right? And that's also where Litical comes in, because it makes it easy to then kind of like work on your not engaged segment, which is maybe just 1%. But then you have the time, or like you have directly an idea of kind of like how to fix it. And probably like all these small changes or all these small fixes have like a big impact on your business like after a year. And I think that's where we also see the biggest beauty. You asked me like if it does make sense to kind of like have it in like everything together. I think for the huge decisions, yeah, definitely. But like there's so many like daily decisions you have as an e-commerce brand, and that's where we really come in.
I like it. What a nice way to end. For those that want to find out more about you or Litical, obviously don't message you today because you'll be running off to the breakfast, no doubt. But normally, how do they contact you? How do they find out a bit more about Litical? How do they even get on the beta program?
Yeah. People can reach out over LinkedIn. Probably that's the easiest way right now to kind of like find me here. I'm also happy to share kind of like the email address, maybe like to the people who kind of like watching currently. And then they can also contact you, and you can kind of like introduce them to me. I think that's also a good way. And yeah, feel free to kind of like check out clearer.com, clearer.io and .com, and book a discovery call. Like we're happy to walk you through, kind of show you what we built there. Also see like how it can help you as a brand or as a merchant. Yeah.
I love it. You've self-volunteered me as like a PA to help send inquiries your way. So yeah, for anyone that wants to talk about Nick because he's going to be enjoying himself at breakfast and he doesn't want to feel me, send them to me because I've got all the time in the world to forward them on to Nick, etc. But in all seriousness, it's been
Haven't you built like an agent who is helping you with these requests, right?
Like my version of Litical, just dealing with it. So for those that have joined today, thank you. I hope you found that useful. I'm so excited to see where Litical is going to go in the next 6 to 12 months. Please do keep in touch with Nick or ask myself, and of course, flippantly, I will of course help and support and share any findings. And I'm hoping over the next 3 to 6 months, even if it's not in the webinar format, I can even just share some snippets of content or whatever it's going to be. Anything that I come across around Litical and where we're heading, I'll be sure to share because I absolutely believe it's the future. Scaling with AI intent, the purpose of today's session, it's absolutely where we're going. So the more we can help enable people and make them feel a bit more comfortable with the AI, Fantastic. For now, thank you. Enjoy the conference. Thank you so much for jumping out to take today's webinar. I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. And yeah, have a lovely day. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers,
Nathan, always a pleasure. See you
Thanks.
soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.